let me explain this. We have said that 75% of my budget, which is all the money going directly to schools, will rise in real terms, and money for Sure Start, and money for 16 to 19-year-old education. That's rising in real terms. There is then 25% of my budget. A good half of that is teachers' pensions, which I can't believe Michael's going to cut. There is then £5 billion left. I've said I will make a 8% cut in those areas, and there's some difficult issues for me to deal with, and there's issues I don't want to touch, like music, sports, and short breaks for disabled children. Michael has got to find £1.8 billion on top of any cuts I make to pay for his free schools. He will only pay for that by reducing teachers and having larger class sizes in the other schools which aren't the free schools. And the reason why he's asking these questions to David is to try and distract from the fact he won't answer your question.
Just mind reading for a second.
You can't tell us where he's going to get the money from.
I want to ask you where you're going to get the money from. Are you saying that there will be no cuts to the education budget, or the budget for schools? Sorry.
No, there will be no cuts.
There will be, if you're re-elected, there will be no cuts to the schools budget of any kind.
The Chancellor Exchequer has said to me that money going to schools will rise this year and next year and the year after. That is not a pledge Michael can make, because I know he wants to, but George Osborne will not let him make that commitment. 75% of my budget is rising. I've got to make some tough decisions elsewhere. Mike would have to make those tough decisions and then find more money.
I want to ask you specifically about one aspect of spending. This is your so-called pupil premium. Just explain very briefly in one sentence what that is.
We want to make sure that some of the money which isn't spent on schools at the moment, in that 25% that Ed says isn't ring-fenced, is spent on schools in order to try and help the very poorest.
Teachers' pensions.
Okay, so where is that money going to come from?
Well, we're at the moment looking at all those areas that Ed has identified as not central and not core to school funding, in order to try to make sure that they go into school funding. Let me mention just one.
There is £5 billion
schools for the future,
and the pupil premium is £2.5 billion. You would have to cut 50% of all of that budget simply to pay for the pupil premium before he pays for his free schools. At least David Laws has got the integrity to say he will pay for his pupil premium by abolishing child trust funds and tax credits. Michael can't answer these questions, because the reality is there will be cuts to schools, cuts to teacher numbers, and larger class sizes. And you should face up to that reality.
I'm genuinely worried about David. He's been praised for his integrity by Ed. That's like being praised.
Well, at least David
praised by King Herod for your contribution to child protection. But nevertheless,
that is offensive, I have to say. But listen, at least David Laws.
It's a biblical reference.
At least David Laws can answer the questions when he's asked, how do you pay for the pupil premium? You can't.
Can I ask you
when it comes to your free schools,
are you going to guarantee building schools for the future? You mentioned school spending. Will we see an increase in building schools for the future spending in the 3 years that you mentioned? Will it increase by, is it 0.7% or whatever the amount is?
I announced on Monday we're moving ahead with 6 areas with their new schools. You said you're going to cut £4.5 billion from school buildings.
Question.
We will carry on with building schools for the future. Yes,
will you increase spending there by 0.7% every year for 3 years?
Look, the fact is 75% of my budget is rising, and Michael is going to cut the budget.
Okay,
all right. It's not multiple choice. It's just yes or no.
Let's stop and let's move on.